on the screen, and there we go. All right, so we're recording now and we're live, and that way, whatever we capture from here on out, it'll be held against you. Um, and we'll share it up, and I'll throw it up onto a private YouTube channel for everybody to view. Okay?
Wonderful.
So I guess, Mrs. Reed, if you could kind of kick this off for us, set what we need to do, and then I think for the folks that I think, Andrew, you were the only one that wasn't at the to get together at Mrs. Reed's house, but we all pretty much, said, hey, there's a lot of things we haven't done over the off time, and we just fessed up. That said, we're ready to kind of roll up our sleeves, so that's the point of this meeting, and go from 0 to 60 and be ready for session 3. And I'll turn it over to Mrs. Reed now, and if you could kind of set us up, that would be great.
Well, according to the notes that were sent out, Andrew, did you get a chance to see those that Aaron had sent out?
I don't recall seeing notes.
He just sent them out the other night.
From Aaron?
Yes.
Yeah, I sent them out sometime on Friday. But let me.
And it was, let's see.
Can you see them on my screen?
Yeah, flipping back to. We
Oops.
see you and let's see where.
I don't see anything on the screen.
Okay, so it was on Friday at 1:43 p.m. Because I'm presenting the minutes.
Can you see them now?
It was.
I see this.
They are there.
Now I can see it.
Yeah. Great. So what I'll do is I'll bring it over to a Word file, make it a little bit bigger, make the text a little bit larger so we all can see. Okay.
As you're doing that, I'll just verbally go through. So what you guys talked about was that there's a few things that have to be really tightened up for SD3, because SD3 is your dress rehearsal. So you have to run, physically, actually run through things at SD3 so that you can detect any glitches or any other props or whatever it is that you might need to adjust, so that when you come the week before, you'll get a chance to hash out the very last details. But it's really got to be in bulk, in place, ready to go. So there's the campfire rolls, and that was Tom Kunrat sent out a thing reminding everybody about their different pieces. And each of those pieces is spelled out specifically on page 77 of the syllabus. So you have to kind of memorize, those kind of things, and then you also have to practice. That's for the instructional parts. But there'll also be the part where you guys do your songs and your stories and things like that, where you're actually doing your campfire. So that's something that you guys need to make sure that you're clear on, of who's doing what, and brainstorming any kind of props or any kind of support that you might need. And then the second point are the small troop presentations, where you have, like with the Leave No Trace or the aims and methods that happen on the various days, the first few troop meetings within the day. And they're listed right there with, the different ones. And you've got, I know some of you have already connected on some scripting and some things, but that's a piece to tighten up. But for tonight, the biggest thing would be to really try to hammer out some details on the troop guide presentation, which is the first thing that the participants, they come up, they register, they get their picture taken, they drop off all their gear in a certain spot, and they don't see it again until they're ready to go to bed. So they come up with their day packs, and once they gather at the main gathering spot, there will be like as soon as six or eight people gather together, then you guys will take them off on a tour of camp to kind of show them the general layout. And then once everybody's registered and everybody's back, boom, you guys do the troop presentation. And so when we were meeting the other night, Andrew, we were trying to remember, well, what did we think we were going to do? And you had some ideas from SD2, but since I wasn't there, I can't really prompt you guys. You kind of have to remember and look back to your notes. So a great thing for tonight's meeting would be to focus a lot on what's that going to look like. And I had also sent out a thing. Did everybody get that?
I
with those
did.
little pointers and things.
Yes.
Yes,
So,
I did.
okay, so using that structure, trying to hit all those marks, it's like stage marks. So that's kind of the purpose of tonight, is to really do this mind meld, brainstorming, hammering out kind of thing. And so after this, I'm going to be fairly quiet, whether you believe it or not.
Okay, well, I think the one person we all agreed upon is that, Andrew, you did a better job probably verbalizing and also paying attention to what we talked about as what the presentation was going to be. So can I put you on the spot, and maybe can you remind us all what we had talked about? Because when I sat there at Mrs. Reed's house, I honestly couldn't recall a single thing.
Okay.
I said that Andrew he would recall everything.
Yes.
Is that what the note said?
Yes.
I remember that also.
Yeah, we wrote those notes about 5 minutes ago.
Ah, that makes sense.
No.
Well, so I have the list of everything.
Do you have it? Do you have it electronic in front of you?
I have it written in my handwriting in front of me.
Okay, that's all right. Well, we can kind of go. Can I ask somebody to be the official note taker?
In what capacity?
I'll take notes.
Okay, as far as that, when we're done talking here, I'll try to capture the main thoughts on my screen, but then if somebody could pay attention to better details, that would be great, and that way we can share the notes out along with the recording so we all keep our stuff straight moving forward.
Okay, so I have a whole bunch of things that we had talked about. Now, we had gone through that list, we had voted on them, and kind of the winner, in terms of kind of the question of solving, was how to expand the repertoire of activities outside of the same old stuff, right? How to do, and I think that kind of
We're losing
I did
Andrew.
a little bit. Sorry? Okay.
I could hear you just fine.
I can hear you.
Oh, I thought somebody was talking. Thought I heard somebody talking.
Chris said she couldn't hear you.
It's going in and out for some reason. We're not doing anything.
Can everybody else hear me?
I can hear you
Yeah.
now, but then it goes out.
Oh.
Keep going. Let's see what happens.
Okay. So and this kind of tied in a little bit to, how to bring exciting, new, different activities into the unit. And when we had talked about kind of how to maybe stage that, we had talked a little bit about, how do you kind of find out about some of these things, and what are some of the new and different things that are either local or national, a little bit about how can you find some of those ideas, but really just kind of expose the wealth of things that scouting has to offer that a lot of units don't think about. So that was kind of the consensus or the winner of all the voting that we talked about. Now we went around this a lot of times, and we had like about 25 really good ideas. And the one worry that I had was not to try and overload it with too many different subtleties or subcontexts or things, because I worry that might dilute kind of the core message. If you guys want, I'd be happy to read all of the other ones, or we can go with this one.
I think of time. Why don't we just go with this? I think it's a good idea, and is there anybody else opposed?
Nope.
Well, and was that vote taken at SD2?
That was at SD.
I think it was.
Yes.
Was it at 1?
On the peninsula.
On the peninsula, yep.
Okay, that'd be 2. All right, perfect, because I wasn't there at the second one, so I just wanted to make sure that we're working off of the most recent vote taking that we had. I know we voted at SD1 to some degree.
We had a secret closed door meeting that nobody else was at, and we just decided
Perfect.
that, yeah.
No, I think we did vote it.
Yeah, we did.
SD1.
Um,
We talked about it. We came up with the ideas at the, what was before SD1? It was just the intro.
The orientation, the
The
campfire that fizzled.
Yeah, so we talked about it at the orientation, and I collected all the notes, and I emailed them out, I thought.
You did.
And then we voted on it at SD1, and then at SD2, I brought it out, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, and that's where we thought, okay, well, maybe we can model it like, you know, I'm going to different events, and I'm going to, you know, how do I learn about these new activities and such. That discussion happened at SD2 after we'd already voted. But there were a lot of the things tended to be around, again, kind of new things or exciting activities or just kind of how to liven up the program, right? Because a lot of the units, and so I could imagine a modeling of, hey, boy, what are we doing in the calendar this year? Oh, the same thing we do every year. Geez, I wish there was more stuff to do. I wish I knew, you know, it seems like there's, you know, or something like that. And then you can talk about for the different, hey, for Cub Scouts, did you know that Cub Scouts could do this and this? Oh my gosh, and you could figure out lots of different ways to kind of act that out. But that's at least, I think, where we kind of ended up on.
Okay. So I have a question for the group. Was a specific theme ever thrown out there?
The theme for like acting?
Yeah, how we would present it. Just were any of those ideas thrown out?
We had discussed a number of them. I don't know that we came to a conclusion. I mean,
okay.
One that we talked about was kind of Monty Python. Remember, told everybody to go watch some. And then kind of, yeah, along the lines with kind of the British theme of things. And so we thought you could kind of go on a quest. And you could go, you know, first you start out and I'm a Cub Scout leader, or I'm a Cub Scout. I'm going on a quest to learn what you can do. And you can pick up people and learn about things along the way. And then, okay, hey, here's a Boy Scout. Let's have him join our quest. And then that was, I think, one of the ideas. But could be plenty.
I kind of like that in the sense that, you know, we don't necessarily have to do a bad British accent, or maybe that would be funny, but I like the fact that we're going on the quest because after refreshing my memory with watching the Holy Grail again, you know, the idea of going and finding out different things, it kind of fits in with that shtick, you know, and it would be a little fun, you know.
I love the idea. My question then becomes thoughts in terms of our standalone. I mean, costumes and the general theme of it sounds awesome. How do we connect that to a standalone? I mean, do we have each, I don't know, the flag of each person you pick up has ideas on it, or I'm trying to think of the movie in terms of how we could put something together that we could meld together the ideas for each of the scout levels to come up with the science fair project piece of.
Are you talking about the static display?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I could imagine a number of different ways that you could pick up items to build out a static display. One interesting thought is, if we go down this route, the theme for the Cub Scout day camp this year was Scouts in Shining Armor. And so if you talk to the day camp directors, they probably have lots of leftover props.
Can I interject? The theme for Camp Edward this year was Camp Excalibur, and in fact, my son who's staffing, they actually did the bridge scene as one of the skits, and everything there is night theme, and there are tons of props at Camp Edward. And my son, who's on a break, he's going back to clean up. Hopefully the Plex will be cleaned up by the time we show up. They're going to have those props available for us to use. So as far as the props go, that part, but the static display I think is
That's my only concern, is not concern, but that's my one theme or thought is I love the Monty Python theme. I love how we can kind of each, you pick somebody up along the way. There are different, the next level of scouting or different style, varsity to crew to, venturing and whatnot. But how does everything come together for that static display that we can put together? So
I think
it'll be fun.
On that, like you said, I mean, they could be flags, right? And then you could, or like little pennants, if you imagine, and then you could collect those and hang them on a board, right? And
Or
each
the
pennant describe an activity.
The board could be a castle, right? It's not that hard to mock up a little castle out of boxes.
You can hang them off of arrows, right? You can make little shields, bucklers, and write the things on those. The pennants are kind of cool because you could put a description and maybe even a picture and, build a display out of that. It talks about different kinds of activities. I think there's a lot of variety that you could do.
No, that's good.
Keep in mind it's got to be durable because we're going to bring this to the planning conference. So whatever.
So my notes say that
We're going to do it. Wood, yeah.
we had a volunteer. We had 2 volunteers. Where was that? Who?
There were volunteers to build this thing.
And I gotta find that.
One of the other things, that you can do too is for like the bridge crossing or for the Vorpal bunny, you can have those be standard traps or the Black Knight. They could be typical things that happen in scouting, like, the Vorpal bunny could be something about, dull trips, and everybody has to try to defeat the dull trip. Or they could be, like with the bridge thing, have you been trained? No. You go off the side. So there's certain things in the movie that you can adapt to fit into the quest. And so on your trifolds and your science display, you could say, the quest for a good program. And then you could have different pieces around there.
Thy holy hand grenade can be the break out of the funk of the rabbit.
Yeah, and that's what changes everything.
I think I really like this concept because we had yesterday our pack planning meeting with Cub Scout Pack, and they sat there and they pulled out last year's calendar, and they're like, well, in November we do this, in December we do this, in March we do this, and we're going through that. I'm like, hey guys, you know that we don't have to do the same thing every month just because we did it last year. And like, you should have seen some of their brains explode. I'm like, and by the way, guys, we've only been doing this particular thing for like 2 or 3 years. So it's not like it's some long tradition. We happen to swap something out, and now it's like this is what we do all the time. So I think getting the concept of, hey, there's a change up your program, go look for new things, get excited, is a really useful one.
And part of it, I think, that people stick to the same-o, is because they've already done the legwork and they've already done the contacts, and so it's a minimal effort kind of option.
Well, that's a good point to when we talk about like some of the new things. It's not just about, hey, you can do this thing. It's, look, and here's how to figure out how to do it. If you had never done it before, it doesn't have to be scary. Here's how to, learn and all the resources to, like, if you've never taken your pack black powder shooting, your troop black powder shooting, like, don't be afraid. Here's some, here's how to do that. Or if you've never gone on an overnight canoeing trip,
I would love for you guys to put in a plug for Roundtable, because I don't know how it is in many of the districts, but I'm a former commissioner for Cub Scout Roundtable. And I just always want to say, if you need new ideas, other people have done these things, and so come and pick their brains.
That
so
could-
that as a
That could be our final. That could be the final. Once we have everybody together, they all go to roundtable.
Because that's
You
what
all-
happens in Monty. That's what happened,
nice
right?
little
That's what
round
happened.
table.
Exactly. That's
Round table.
It's the theme.
Yoo-hoo!
exactly. That,
Oh gosh.
And couldn't our display even simpler be? It doesn't have to be too complex, but it could be a round table with all the different points on it, right?
It would be awesome if it was a round thing. Yeah, round table.
That would
Somebody
be
said they would build this thing. I forget who.
It was Christina and one other person. We couldn't remember who the other person is.
Must be Morgan.
It's not here.
She had a wood workshop.
Nice.
Remember that, Robert?
I'm pretty
I have
sure
a-
it was those two.
Who? Christina and who?
Yep. Christina and somebody.
Yeah.
We'll have to find that out. I have a bunch of shield shapes that are cut out of plywood in my garage
that could work too.
if you need them. I have lots of stuffed rabbits too, but you have to be nice to it.
Because you can always put the scouting symbol for each of the persons that would hold one of those shields. Because then you could put your lines on the back of it.
Well, yeah,
Oh, yes.
one of the things we
and
do.
that's a well-practiced. Yep.
One of the things we do at our Cubs is that our Boy Scout troop, every 4 years we actually knight our scouts before they go. And one of the things that they do is the Boy Scouts. This year it was my sons. They build them shields to go to Camp Excalibur, and they actually carry the shields with the coat of arms for the pack. But and then they knight them with things like they name each one of the scouts like a surname. So like it's Sir Fing, Sir Cole, and
Surmount.
Surmount. But then what they do is they do take that and they when they carry the shields, they do put on the other side their notes of like what are the different songs and cheers at Camp Edward.
Yeah.
Here's another fun thing too. With the surcoats that they often wear, those white things. I just made one for my son for a costume convention that he went to. And if you had the knights be for the different programs, I'm Knight Cub Scout, but he has a funny name, and a Knight Boy Scout. But there's this hapless scouter who's trying to figure out the program, and all these knights come to their assistance and then take them to the round table.
Could have our hapless. That could be that again tie into the end where you pick up the scouter and you take them to round table.
Yeah, and that same
What?
scouter could be the guy that wanders through your small program things. Remember how you guys were talking about having a person go through the camp stoves?
Sure.
So the same hapless person maybe could show up throughout the course.
Say that one
And
more
I said
time,
I'd
Julie.
be quiet.
No, Julie, say that one more time for me.
Which part?
About the hapless person, but what would they do showing up throughout course?
You were mentioning, you guys were mentioning that when you would do your leave no trace thing, or the how to use backpacking stoves, or preparing for the backcountry, that there was an element maybe of a hapless scout who was kind of stumbling along trying to figure these things out, and you would be using the EDGE method to teach that person.
Mm-hmm.
So if that person was also in the original skit thing as the person that the knights helped,
Oh, I see.
that
And
it could be a kind of connector thing.
I think what we want to do though is you'd want at the beginning to be the adult version of that person, because you don't take the Boy Scout, the Scouts don't go to round table, it's the adults to find out what's going on versus
That's true.
the Scouts themselves. But I think you could certainly do something where the person definitely looks like an adult, and then you kit them up for the how to do the basic skills of scouting through the 4 smaller presentations. It could be the same person, just change the look of them to look more scouter than adult being taken to the round table to learn how to do different things.
Well, this could be the scout that is now a scouter. He grew. This is now his new role.
Or the adults that are doing the edge, or whoever it is.
It mentions in the aims and methods. It talks about how picture what the scout is like in 10 years. You know that part on that page? Yeah.
Hang on, I got my notes with that somewhere that Joe gave me.
I'll go grab my syllabus. It's right over here.
It's on page 46, and it talks about
by the way, Chris, you get extra points.
The qualities that those young people will exhibit in the future. Talk about that after they've gained what they've gained from their current scouting experience, such as self-motivation, high expectations, focus, etc. So this is now the person who's been through that, and now they've grown into this role. But
That has potential.
They didn't grow enough because now they're still clueless. They need more help. Actually, what I hear you guys saying is, to go back to what Andrew said in the beginning, we had all these great ideas for things that you could do. What this sounds like you guys are evolving, and I think I like it, is that it's more in it's not the fish that they catch, it's how to catch the fish, it's the methodology, and how to work on conceiving the new ideas and executing them rather than just give them a list of ideas.
And networking and building that round table, within your program, within your district.
Mm-hmm.
That group of people that you can then draw from.
Mm-hmm.
So before we spend hours and hours and hours talking about Monty Python, not before, I shouldn't say that, I should say that differently. Do we want, I think we've kind of hashed out the general theme, the question, a little bit about what we could look at for the project. Does anybody want to take up the idea of scripting kind of 4 big points from the movie, relating it to scouting? So if we do, well, I'm assuming we want to do one more of these before we come to SD3 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Is there somebody familiar enough with the movie that they would like to kind of go, hey, you know what, the bridge scene, the whatever, a couple of different places where we can have...
I'd be more than glad to do that. That part I can do.
Okay, because then we can hash out the actual verbiage of it at the next one without making tonight be hours and hours and hours on end.
Yeah, and I can do that on the airplane when I'm traveling back and forth because I got it on my computer now, so that's fine.
Cool.
Another good thing for Robert is to connect up with Morgan, because I think he knows the entire script of the actual movie.
Okay, so let's put that as the note. Should we? Yeah, let's make that happen. I will.
So reach out to him and then find those pivot points in the movie that we can refer to. And
gotcha.
It'd be fun, thinking about all the questions at the bridge and everything. How they have the tenderfoot, not the tenderfoot, but first class kind of questions. It's kind of, I don't know, just thinking it'd be kind of funny if that's, and Mrs. Mockford wants to know if we're still talking. What should I tell her?
Oh, by the way, go on. I'll tell you in a minute.
Are we still talking?
Yeah, she said, are you still talking? Because she said she was going to sit out this time so that she wouldn't talk too much. And of course, then I took over her role. But now she's just wondering how we're all doing.
I think we're doing fine.
Moving right along, I think.
I have found it in my notes. It's Christina and Heidi Morgan that would work on the physical production of our static display.
Mm.
Okay.
So we'll need
And,
we'll need
These were Robert and Wayne.
say that again.
The ideas to show the activities were Robert and Wayne.
Okay.
Andrew, the presentation, and Aaron. Anyway.
That's great. I will. Heidi's going to be back before Christina will, so I'm going to. Actually, I shouldn't. So somebody should reach out to Heidi and fill her in.
When is she back? Do you know?
Christina is back at the very end of the month, and Heidi should be back this week. I can
Robert,
ping her and ask her when.
If you send out the link to this, once you do that, I can certainly swing back around with Heidi, because she also, I believe, is I think she's my partner for our backpacking piece, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I think so too. So that's good.
I can follow up with her just with what we talked about tonight, after she's watched the video, and then also discuss our own presentation as well.
Okay.
So what does everybody's week look like? Could we touch base before the end of the week?
So, just so you guys know, I'm about to go on my family vacation on Tuesday, and I won't be back till the following late night Saturday, the 29th or whatever. So I'm not going to...
Okay.
I won't be at SD3, and I'll be off in California with the kids doing whatever. So I'll do what I can, but I don't want to put myself critical path for too much stuff for SD3 because I won't be there.
So if Robert and Morgan can kind of connect about the script, and Heidi can think about the static display, and we can be thinking about everybody brainstorming about props and things to gather in. It might be, that you won't need to, Andrew, that other people will have the pieces picked up. While you're on vacation, will you be able to check into email and stuff?
Absolutely. So I'll have my smartphone, which I'm sure I will look at way too much, and I'll have the laptop with me, and during the day, I'll probably be out doing whatever family stuff, but, in the evening, we're staying with my folks, and they have Wi-Fi, and I can be checking in and do some stuff, for sure.
So if you can give feedback and stuff like that, that would be great.
Absolutely, and if there's some specific task that I can do purely through email, I'd be happy to do that. I just won't be there to, in person for SD3.
Okay.
Which brings up another thing too to think about is maybe possibly getting to you'll have a bit of time when you get on course, but most of we get up there on Tuesday night, and most of Wednesday is actually physically spent cleaning the camp and setting things up and getting things ready. So that's what we do on that Wednesday, and then on the Tuesday or the Thursday, then what we do is we run through the entire first day, kind of as a dry run, so that we're ready when the people come on that Friday. So it might also be good to consider somehow rehearsing before we get back on course, after SD3.
Sure. Okay, so do we think we have a pretty good handle on the troop project then? At the moment, anyway.
One of the questions we've had is this idea that we're going to have new ideas, or So should I just start collecting like good new ideas for hikes and activities and for Cubs and for Boy Scouts and just make a list of them with the reference points so that in case we want to incorporate those?
I think that'd be outstanding.
All right, I'll undertake that and start on that, and go from there. And I'll just start a list, and maybe I'll have a chance to send it around, so that people could get a sense of it.
And I think the thing with scouting is that they don't even have to be brand new ideas. They can just be things that no one's. We never thought about ice camping or igloo making until somebody brought it up, and all the boys got really excited about it, and we ended up doing it. We've done it the last couple of winters, and not so much last year, this past winter, but the winter before. And that was just something they really enjoyed that no one really gave any thought to, and it was something that other people have done for years.
I think one of the real advantages is to come up with ideas that people have done before. It's like you go to Round Table and somebody says, "Oh, don't rent the canoes there. They're all super heavy."
Yeah.
You get that kind of help that is so helpful, and you don't have to make the mistake so that the first trip is lousy. The second one is, oh, that works.
Yeah, and you guys, in addition to like the trifold, you could have a handout with resources because, that is just like bonus. I mean, everybody likes to go to Round Table or any kind of training event and come home with a take-home, something that's tangible.
Yeah, no, I agree, and this is one of those deals we can't have too much stuff.
And we can generate a bunch of those printouts too for PTC if we put our static display and then have, a bunch of takeaways that go with it too. That's kind of cool.
Sure.
I like that.
Okay, so I think we're good there. The other two things that we had were on the list here, the small presentations, the small group presentations, and the campfire are the other two pieces that we talked about at Miss Reed's that we need to button up before SD3. So I think
this is Wayne. Morgan and I are doing backpacking, and we previously talked about the ideas on that, and I emailed him, and so he and I will get together on that. I think we've really got a pretty good idea of what to do. So I think, and we'll work on that this week, even by email.
So do we like the idea of the Wayward Scout? I mean, I think having something that ties them all together would be fun, and we can all do our own thing based around the idea of teaching via the EDGE method to a...
Well, we had two ideas. One was, the backpacking idea was that one person was the complete incompetent backpacking stove person. And for some reason, Aaron assigned that to me. Or Morgan did. I don't understand.
It's just to have you remember because, it's a long time ago.
Okay, all right. Well, and then he was going to do it the right way. So we were designing ideas or coming up with ideas of, the giant backpack stove, the 50 gallons of gasoline, and all those things,
So if everybody, commits to getting together and touching base with their partners and then working on that offline, that sounds great.
And I think the theme of one person doing it right, one person not doing it right is a good one. I mean, there's no better way to teach that than having somebody who comes, like the backpacking one, somebody who comes with cotton and, the other person's got all this fleece and all that stuff.
As long as it isn't too stupidly poorly done.
Because then what they remember, is all the wrong things.
Common, I think, that people do commonly.
I got my own credit here.
Mr. Perry.
One of the other aspects, especially with the stoves one, is that by doing it as a group presentation, we're sort of circumventing the syllabus because initially it was meant that each troop guide would present the stoves piece to their individual patrols using the EDGE method so that they could get a real hands-on personal effect of the EDGE method. But it's cumbersome in the way that, not everybody may have all the stove-type gear. You might not be proficient with all of them. And so our council has sort of morphed back into having it be a whole group, like a troop presentation. But for that one in particular, it's really good to try to incorporate aspects of the EDGE method. And remember how Marcelo pulls people out of the audience? And so he often will do something where he'll say, he'll explain it, he may even demonstrate it, but he pulls someone else up to be that next two pieces.
Yeah.
To somehow consider working that aspect in would be a good, I think.
Okay, good idea.
So before, also, Joe had a question for you, Wayne and Chris. She has Wayne, you down as an owl, no, an eagle critter, and Chris is an owl.
Yeah.
So she was wondering, isn't one of you a double character?
Wayne
Yeah,
is.
yeah, I'm both an eagle and a buffalo.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That's nice. I will let her know.
Yeah, that might help her because she had that person that wanted to be a buffalo.
Yeah, which is going to be great fun. I'm also a buffalo. Slow, stupid, furry.
But she, yeah, anyway, she has her name.
So, yeah, we will have buffalo participants.
We're going to be over that number, right, Julie?
Oh, yes, we already are.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I was a buffalo from the first time, and then when I went through it again with Chris, I was an eagle.
Okay.
Hey, group.
Yeah, when Joe, go ahead.
I'm sorry. As a house, kind of a note keeping thing. Has everybody here used Google Docs before?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things I think would be helpful is that if what I did is I started a Google Doc and I'll share it out for everybody, but as we go through our individual parts of the of the presentation, it would be great as opposed to constantly emailing back and forth, because one of the things I do is I lose track of all the emails, or I have to go back and through and I spend a lot of time through. I think it'd be nice if we all just kind of like played on the same page. I don't know how you all feel about that.
Sounds good.
And then what I'll do is I'll share it out with everybody, and everybody will have edit rights. And you can actually, if you really care, you can go and see, who made the edits, when, where, who, how, why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add everybody now, and just to confirm, we've got Aaron, Andrew, Chris, Christina, Heidi. Julie, you're going to be in there. Is Kevin Giles? He's not one of our guys, is he?
He's not he's our FPL, so he likes to be aware of things.
But he doesn't necessarily be in these detail of these notes.
He won't be in the nitty-gritty stuff, so he doesn't necessarily have to be in for this.
Cool. And let's see, I've got Morgan, I've got Wayne. Is there anybody else I've missed as far as the troop guide group?
I don't think so.
Great. Okay. So we're just going to call it. Sorry. Go ahead.
Miss Reed, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I'm looking at. I am one of the two in the planning for the outdoor, the backpacking part of the 4 smaller presentations.
Yes.
And Miss Mockford gave me the page number that coincides with it. I see all the stuff for the outdoor code piece, that one of the 4, but I'm trying to separate out what part of it is the planning for the outdoor piece.
Okay, what page did she give you?
Well,
181?
she says 181, yes.
Okay, so I think, let me take a look.
Because it goes through, it talks about the outdoor code, the BSA ethics program, leave no trace. That seems all part of the outdoor code piece of it, not necessarily the planning for the outdoor backpacking piece. Now, unless I'm missing the boat on something.
Yeah, that's what it does look like. And one of the things I can vaguely remember is that sometimes it sort of mirrors the stove ones where the person who goes to pack for the backcountry thing has their teddy bear
Whoops, I lost audio. Sorry, I lost audio. Oh no! Oh no! Oh,
Manual, and then named our park.
It's in what manual? The caveman
In
skit?
the syllabus?
Mhm.
No, the first stuff, the stuff up top is the patriotic song, the scouting song, the Tarzan, like all of that stuff is all like mapped out, right? So I know what to do for that. But then later down, we have like kind of the just various skits and songs, and one of them is a caveman skit, and I still don't know what the actual skit is. I don't know how to prepare for that.
Oh yeah, he kind of went over that verbally and talked about what we should do. I don't remember seeing it written down. Do you, Miss?
I mean, I remember at SD2 we were talking about campfire stuff, and somebody said, "Yeah, we should do the caveman skit."
Mm-hmm.
And somebody at least seemed to know what it was, and then they picked
Yeah.
me for it, but I don't know what it is, so I don't know who's going to tell me at some point what it is.
I think what it is in the role that Mrs. Mrs. Mockford was what Jenny Reynolds was when I saw it before. But the from what I remember, the cave guys are out and they're having fun, and the noise gets up, then it gets kind of down, and then it gets up, and somehow it's something about learning to tell time, and the punchline of it is where a female, of course, comes out and says, "It's 2:00 in the morning, and you guys be quiet," or something, and so the cave guys are the ones that are making all the noise and having fun around the campfire, and then somebody tells them to, it's time to go to bed. So, but it's funnier than that, of course.
All right. I guess we got to do some digging. Digging to find out more about what the caveman skit is.
Awesome. So, when do you guys want to have your next? And Robert, this is fabulous. This is really, really fun. I've done conferences calls before. I've done some Skype stuff before, but this was really fun.
thank you. So that said, the only time that I'm going to be busy from now until 6 o'clock on Wednesday evening. So before that time, but I leave it open to the group. Anytime after that, I'm fairly flexible.
What about the same time next week, Sunday?
That could work. That works for me.
That works for me.
We've got to be in Dallas this week. It's Wayne Brock's retirement, and so we'll be and a bunch of other meetings down there. So we'll both be in Dallas this week, and so that That makes it a lot
We're
easier.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
I think this time next week works well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can communicate via email prior to that with, if somebody comes up with the kind of some ideas of things, we can email them back and forth, but we can certainly have the next sit down next weekend, next Sunday.
So email and Google Docs tinkering during the week, and then next week on the 22nd. No, whoops, I'm looking at November already. Ha ha, we're
It's the
done.
23rd.
We did it, guys. Thank you. 23rd.
Works for me.
Okay.
Okay, I will send an invite out now, and I've already got it set up. And everybody received that Google Doc invite, so it's open for sharing. And then, if I understand correctly, a couple of us have to reach out to certain people. I've got to reach out to Morgan ASAP, and somebody else was reaching out to Heidi. Is that correct?
Yep, that's me.
Great.
Awesome. So this is a tremendous amount of fun, guys. And it just, it always kind of comes down to the end where it seems like, oh my gosh, there's no way, and oh wow, this is so cool. But it takes a bit of hard work between now and when the participants show up. But it's one of the best kinds of fun you can have.
Yep. Great. Well, I'll have the meeting posted within it's going to take about 20 minutes for the video to process, and then I'll send the link out to everybody. Okay?
Sounds good. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Robert.
And I've got the notes here, so I'll send those out.
Thanks so
Oh,
much.
that'd be wonderful.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.